go. There's a few people in the room now. Hello. Look at that. Here's what I'm doing. You'll see my face in a minute, but I'm pouring myself a LaCroix. It's a cherry lime LaCroix. Anybody into LaCroix? Steven? Hey man, what's going on? Sarah, Emily, Jesse, what's up? Adam, look at this. We got a little crew. Okay. Oh, I think you can see me now. Hi friends, how's it going? This is the first time I've done one of these, and I have no idea who all is going to show up. I'm really appreciative that you guys are here, though, and thanks for taking the time to hang out. Yeah, gee, this is strange because I talk to you, and then you respond over here, so I'm going to be constantly doing this, whatever. But again, thank you guys for being here. Really appreciate it. We're going to take, I don't know how long this will be. I can't time it exactly. Some of it will just go based on some of our dialogue a little bit. And I have some things to share. But first, I think it would be smart, wise for us just a quick start out. If you don't mind just typing in there, if you're up for it, just type in a little bit about what your creative output in the world looks like. I don't want to say what's your job, what do you do, but what is the thing that you identify yourself as like? How is? Let me put it this way: how is the world different because the space that you occupy in it? Okay. What are you drawn to? What do you make? I'm gonna write in here because I type things. I'm a singer, songwriter, and stuff. That'd be helpful. And then the second thing I would love to ask, just give this some thought and type it as something maybe pops up into your head. I'll just start talking. But if you wouldn't mind sharing, what's your challenge right now? What is your challenge? Because I think those of us right now who are in the room or listening to this later identify at some level as a creator. I make things. Emily, you write, right? What's the challenge? What's the challenge that's right in front of us that keeps us from doing that the way we really want to be doing? If you wouldn't mind just tossing that out there, we'll kind of run with that. Side note, so I'm doing this Whole30 thing. It's a diet. I don't know if you've heard about it. I think it might be a fad diet. And in any case, I'm halfway through it. And so instead of drinking whiskey out of a whiskey glass, I'm drinking LaCroix. And not just any LaCroix, like this particular variety of LaCroix. It comes in a tall, skinny can, and this is cherry lime. And it's just, it's pretty great. And I even put it on an ice ball. Scott's in the room. Hi, Scott. You appreciate that, right? Awesome. Jesse's an entrepreneur doing some good things. We just chatted, my man. Steven, is there a way you can turn your microphone up? Dude, thank you so much for saying that. Yeah, there is actually. It's a little button right here. I'm gonna turn that up. Tell me if that's better. If you guys, do you hear me a little bit better? Great. Yvonne, hello. How's it going? Yvonne's a spiritual artisan. I love that. Creating spaces for people to connect with God. That's gorgeous, beautiful. Adam's a visual artist, a writer, a dream rescuer. Steven, I'll just say it for you. Steven's a super talented artist, musician, multi-faceted artist. Let's see if anybody else chimes in there. So we're going to talk a little bit about creativity today. And we're going to talk about what it means to be in creative alignment. So when I talk about creativity, so first I'll share a couple things, frame this thing out. Creativity, some people call it the poetic imagination. Some people call it tapping into the unknown, the mystery that's inside of us. In whatever way, metaphor you want to use, I think that we can agree that to be able to get there, we have to be able to fully just be in this place. So for you, whatever it takes right now, I know we're probably running at 1,000 miles an hour, and some of you might even be like in a car watching this live. Just make a commitment right now just to be in this space, right? So take a couple breaths. Be in this space. See, I think we are, as humans, at our healthiest when we're in some sort of creative flow. I think that we are... somebody's calling me. I'm not going to answer that right now. That's hilarious. We are at our best when we're in some sort of rhythm and a creative flow. It's just kind of how we are wired. It reminds us what we're doing here. It reminds us that we are unique, all of those things. And so for us to be creative means that we, the people around us, even benefit. So it's in our best interest for us to be in creative alignment as much as possible. So we're going to talk about that in a minute. So and I asked a question. Some of you guys were in the room when I asked it. I'll ask it again. I'd love for you to just toss up onto the chat one way that you're struggling to be in creative alignment. Just tell me one way. Tell our little group here one reason or a way that you're struggling to be in creative alignment, in creative flow, creating at the level you want to be creating. And as you guys sit with that, let me share a little bit about my own life, my story. Most of you know me. I'm a singer-songwriter. I've been doing that for 20 years, just about, in a variety of capacities. I also helped curate spiritual communities. Time, like Yvonne was saying, time with the divine, with God in space where we're connecting with each other and something beyond us. And I also do that now. So I create guided concerts in spaces, and I continue to do that. And I also, right now, I'm also doing some coaching. So that's a lot of fun. Those are some of my current creative outputs. But I get stuck in a whole bunch of different ways as well. And this past year, for me, some of you guys know my story. Some of you guys know where I've been. This past year has been really the first year that I've taken off all of the harnesses that have kind of like anything that I could make excuses about. Oh, I can't because I have a full-time job about this or that, and gone 100% to the things that I want to create. And even in the middle of that, I've experienced a whole ton of obstacles and a whole ton of challenges. And also through it, though, I feel like I've learned just a ton about it, about what it means to be a creative. And so I'm going to share a couple of things with you guys. And I'm seeing a couple of things here. Stephen, guarding my creative practice as far as time. That's God, that's huge. It's crazy. Time can be such a thing. We'll get to that in a minute. Alex, hey, how's it going, man? Yes, family's doing great. Appreciate that. Hi, Jane. How's it going? So 2 things I want to talk about, and Stephen, you might find this relating to time getting in the way, and I think just a common conversation about creativity. For us to stay in creative alignment, I want to talk about our brains, and I want to talk about our emotions. Our brains, first off, I want to show you guys a picture of a piece of the brain you may be familiar with. Anybody know what this is? This is the prefrontal cortex. And as Adam's writing here, he struggles with comparing himself to other creatives. The prefrontal cortex, that's where a lot of that's happening. That's the place in our brain that takes care of cognitive function, analyzing things, making rational sense of the world, right? It's the part of your brain that identifies as you and keeps you alive in a lot of ways because it's really, really great. But what we found is that part of the brain can actually become a block and get in the way of us tapping into this inner mysterious space that we talk about when we talk about creating. Because when we create, we're not creating from this spot, we're creating from here. And think about this. Think about for a moment the times when you've felt the most alive, or you had like the best ideas, or you had like the most creative inspiration. Think about what it felt like when you did that. What were some of the things that you've done that have felt like that? For me, it's been certain like music that I've made, certain songs I've made. There's times when I'm writing a song, and I feel like it's coming from a place that's not here, not even in me. It's like coming from somewhere beyond. Those are those like in between moments in life that this part of our brain shuts off. The prefrontal cortex sort of shuts off. There's a guy named Charles Lim, and he did a TED Talk, and he did a whole bunch of research at Johns Hopkins, and he studied the brain and its role in creativity, and got a group of jazz musicians together who were improving. They were improv jazz musicians, which when you're playing improv jazz music, it takes just a lot of freedom. You got to be flexible. You got to be able to kind of move and bend and listen and just be in the present moment and not let this thing get in the way. They did brain studies, and they found out that this part of the brain literally it shuts down when they're in improv performance mode. Meaning that for us to be fully creative means that this part of us has to get out of the way. So first, the brain. Being creative and your ability to create is fully dependent on your own ability to get out of your own way. And for us to find ways to tap into the rest of it. So then that leads us to emotions. So I talk about the brain. I'm going to talk about emotions. Bear with me. Our emotions are created by thoughts, right? Follow this train. Our thoughts create our emotions, and our emotions impact how we feel, how we show up in the world. And how we feel, and our emotional state, is a wonderful indicator of our presence, our being in the world. Some people refer to this as like a vibrational state even. I have incense going. That's why it's smoky over there. If you see smoke, you're like, something's on fire, Ben, something's on fire. Because the incense puts me in a space of creative flow. It's one of the little cues I've learned. I'll light a stick of incense and something literally chemically just shifts in my body. But anyway, so we're talking about emotional state. I want to show you something that I've found that is immensely helpful. Has been helpful for me. It's called Emotional Guidance Scale. It's developed by Abraham Hicks. Take a look at this thing. The Emotional Guidance Scale, and I'll walk you through it, are names that we can put on the different types of emotional states that we live in. At any point in your life, just in your day, you are in one of these states. All the way from the top, which is about joy and knowledge and empowerment and freedom and just the ability to just live and be in the world, all the way down. If you take a step down the ladder, it goes to passion, and then it goes down to enthusiasm, which makes way for positive expectation or belief. And then keep going down, optimism, hopefulness, contentment. And then it goes to the other side of the page, where it goes down to boredom, pessimism, frustration. And then if you keep following it down that ladder, you find yourself disappointed, doubt, worry, blame, discouragement, anger, revenge, hatred, jealousy, insecurity, fear, right? And, so for a lot of us who are creatives trying to do our thing, and we're talking about the things that stop us up, most of us can identify some of these emotions, these feelings, in the downward part of the spiral as things that stop us, right? And that's because when we create, we have to be tapping into the part of ourselves that believes there's something worthwhile in here, right? That believes that you have something that is absolutely needed, that the world needs. And if you don't do it, nobody else will. And to be able to really take part in that kind of belief, we have to be living in an emotional state that is at least at like number 8 or higher, 7, 6, 5, right? Optimistic. And when we're on a downward spiral, and on a downward trajectory, it goes from here. Everything gets trapped up in here in our head. Creativity flows when those things are aligned. So those are two things. Just a little bit of brain science about the part of your brain that takes over, and then there's emotional scale. And when we're in a space where we're not letting this part of our brain, our prefrontal cortex, take over and fear rule our lives, and when we are in an emotional state of moving upwards, it doesn't mean that we don't feel those things. It means that we are on the pathway upward. Because I've written plenty of songs that are from a place of, I'm going to point over here. There we go. I've written plenty of songs that are from a place of anger, or even rage, right? That's okay. As an artist, it's really good to express those. But the second that you take a step creatively forward, you're expressing an upward motion in this scale, in this spiral. So I hope, does this make any sense? Just give me a little thumbs up if you guys are feeling this, if it makes sense, or if this doesn't, it's not resonating. This is bullshit. I don't get it. Man, Jovian, thank you for saying that. Perception that others won't trust me. I agree. I'm getting stuck in my own way. Tell us more, man. I see that. I get it. It's this idea that even me doing this, I'll tell you, I'll just be totally honest with you guys. I almost canceled this earlier this week. I had this idea to do this workshop about a week ago, and I think it was Monday this week. Dude, I just had that downward spiral happen, right? And my emotional state went from up there to down low, and I started telling myself all kinds of stories that I don't have anything to actually say, that I don't have success in numbers and money, and so nobody's going to want to even listen to me, and the things that it just was worthless. So I literally almost pulled the plug on this thing. But the only way I was able to get there, though, were through some of the tools and through some relationships. My friends and my wife, I'm learning how to lean on people more, how to let others help me climb that ladder, right? Thank you. Yeah. Thanks, Alex. Jesse, you say, I think that it's interesting that contentment is the first step on the upward side. Isn't that interesting? I'll pull that back up for a second. Yeah, contentment. So here's one way to look at this also, and this has been immensely helpful for me just as a human being, let alone a creative human being. This scale, sometimes when somebody tells you, "Hey, dude, just be joyful. Just be happy all the time. Live in joy and knowledge, that top level." But you're in one of these lower states, say you're angry about something. For you to go all the way from anger all the way up to joy, it's insane. It's that's where you just go, well, I can't do it. It feels totally impossible. But hold on, if I were to say to you, if you're in an angry state, and maybe think about a situation in your life that you feel angry about, and I say, well, why is it that you're angry? Let's talk about that. And then you talk about how, well, man, I just, this person did this to me, and this person did this to me, and I say, well, it kind of sounds like blame. And suddenly you shift from anger up 2 steps to blame. And then you're at blame, and we're talking about who you're blaming for this and this and that and this and that. And it really comes down to you being disappointed with something that happened earlier in life to you, or some decision that you made, and the outcome wasn't what you wanted. And so then suddenly you're at disappointment. Do you see how this goes? And so you're climbing this ladder one thing at a time. And so again, for us as creatives, we're in this process. Being creative literally just means that you're a fully alive human being. I really truly believe this, that we're all made as creators. We're all here to make something, to observe the world, absorb it, and then regurgitate something. And when we're in our healthiest state, that's some of the output that's happening. It's flowing. It's in flow, right? There's a rhythm to it. There's a flow to it. And so these are all just human things for us. Human things. Zach, Sheena, hi. I'm so glad you guys are here. High fives. Thanks for joining us. We're continuing on here for those of you who guys are just coming in. We're talking a little bit about the brain and emotions, and then we're going to talk about some rhythms to get those brain and emotions kind of in sync and in a space that we actually can make things. But I want to encourage you guys in this right now on your chat thing, if you wouldn't mind throwing just one challenge out there. I'd love to hear from you. Just what's one challenge that's keeping you from living fully aligned as a creator? What's one challenge that's keeping you from living fully aligned as a creator? Mandy, what's up? So I hope that those things are helpful, the emotional ladder and understanding the brain a little bit. I think it makes a lot of sense. And I hear a lot of times people talking about like creative rhythms and you just got to put your butt in the seat and make something. And there's totally a truth to that. And I'm going to share some actual rhythms that I use in a minute and hear from you also. But I want to set this up this way. I think that when we say things like, oh, well, you just have to push, you got to grind it out, you got to it's all about grit and this self-discipline. And if you're not creating things, then you're not self-disciplined and you suck. Here's what I think that does. What I think that does is I think it takes us down the scale. It puts us in a lower emotional state, a lower vibrational state. And when we're in that state, it's impossible for us to create authentically. If we create anything in that state, it honestly just comes back to a monkey mind, a fear brain, a lizard brain. And then our creativity just feels like kind of blah. It feels like you're copying somebody else or you want to be something else. So I think it's important for us to recognize that we're human beings, multifaceted human beings, and that our emotions and our brain, all those things play such a role in the things that we're bringing to life. So I want to talk about rhythms today. Can you sing one of your songs? Oh, here we go. Ready? I'm just going to sing a song to you for a moment. Hello, Alex, I can sing a song for you. There we go. I sing a song for you. And it's very snowy in Chicago. It's not snowy here in California. Alex, you mentioned a fear of rejection. And gosh, I can't tell you how much I resonate with that. Rejection, we put this, I think sometimes though we put this idea of what it would mean to be rejected or to have people dislike us over here, and we build it up. And so I kind of would push forward and ask the question, what is it that you actually fear? What would be the worst case scenario? I'll talk it out for me for a second. Worst case scenario for me, even doing this workshop, right? My worst case scenario is that nobody shows up and that nobody gets anything out of it. And that the people that maybe do show up, because you guys are actually here, maybe the worst case scenario is that you find it meaningless and pointless and that you walk away from here going, man, that was such a waste of my time. And in that case, what I'm going to do then in the next few days is I would probably find out about that through conversations with people, and I would learn about it. And I'll go, well, why is it a waste of my time? Why is it a waste of your time? And I would take it and I would use it as a catalyst to learn the next thing. Not to minimize your fear of rejection, because I think that that's just core to who we are as people. But I think the second that we name it, we take power over it. The second that we name what our fear is. Zach says, fear of not being as good as the artists I love and look up to, the constant chase of perfection, all which leads to creating nothing at all. Oh, dude, yeah. It's like paralysis. It's like, I love music. So as a musician, I consume a ton of music. And so I'm living in this constant state of comparison, and I follow either, other artists online and stuff even. And when I see what other people are doing, I go, oh, how come I'm not doing that? Or how come I'm not making more of an impact? You get the comparison game going, and then it just becomes easy just to sit back and not do it at all. Sarah, getting out of my own head, making time and being intentional about creative space. So glad you said that. That's huge. It's huge. Both aspects. I think for us to get out of our head takes practice, right? It takes rhythms. And for us to be able to make that creative space, it's a space that we have to curate. No one's going to set the stage for us. So this idea of making creative space and getting ourselves into it, it is our role, so we have to take ownership of. So I actually want to share with you guys a little bit. I jotted down, I have a few notes here about some creative rhythms that I have. I think that this idea of getting out of our own head, this idea of moving beyond our fears that keep us paralyzed and our fear of rejection or fear of what other people think, moving past those takes intentionality and rhythm. Rhythms to me are tools that we can use to stay in motion. Rhythms are tools to stay in motion. Because sometimes you have to prime the pump. To be able to create, sometimes it takes movement, momentum. Isn't it a lot easier to sit down and continue the book that you're writing than it is to start in the first place? Songwriters, isn't it easier once you start tracking your ideas, like in Pro Tools or whatever? Isn't it easier the moment that you have the direction and you're in flow and you can move, you can jump back in? This is just priming the pump. And the whole purpose of doing that is putting us into that higher emotional state, telling our analytical brain to take a break. So a few things that I've done. I really am guarded about my mornings. Some of you guys are morning people. Some of you are night people. How many morning people? Raise your hand, or we'll just type in there if you're a morning person or a night person. Mornings are a sacred space to me. I need to create that space. I need to, and then sometimes I have to hit the ground running and help our youngest daughter get out the door for school. But I always try to find time, a window that is me journaling and being still. Being still so that I can just be open, and then journaling. And journaling to me is just an exercise of output, right? It's I sometimes think of these rhythms as inhaling and exhaling. Some rhythms are about the inhale, the breathing in. What are you looking at? What are you taking in? And some rhythms are about exhale and learning how to get good at that. Inhale, exhale. So for me, a daily practice of journaling is huge. Just writing, just getting things going. If you're a fan of Julia Cameron and The Artist Way, she calls it morning pages. That's huge. I'm seeing some mornings, some late nights, some both, right? Sarah, what's going on? Yeah, so there's all these. So by the way, I just mentioned really quickly The Artist Way by Julia Cameron. If you're not familiar, go check that book out. Go just buy it when you're done with this workshop. It's just such a beautiful model for us. Other rhythms, creative triggers. Know yourself, right? Know yourself. Know your creative triggers. Your favorite type of coffee, your favorite writing desk, a candle. For me, like I said a minute ago, I'm here burning incense, right? Certain smells do it to me, or it's a record. You know, for me, there's certain music, there's certain albums I can put on, and I think what it does is it gets me out of my thinking mind and awakes something childlike and curious inside of me that. From like when I first heard the music, right? What is it for you? Is there a record maybe for you? They're a handful for me. And I'm a seasonal person, so like it's so funny. Like right now, I'm listening to Andrew Bird is just such a genius man, but a lot of his music, and he even has some really cool instrumental stuff. But he's always been a January, February, March inspiration to me. So I'll track with some of that. Yeah, well, what speaks to you guys? Just throw it in there in the comments and we'll read some of that. What are your creative triggers? Is it a certain type of tea? Joy just discovered there's a tea from Earth Cafe in Laguna Beach, right by our house here. That's like it's called, I forgot the name of it. Oh, she's back over there listening. Grateful Heart Tea, and I know that does that for her. Joy, feel free to chime in when you want. Maybe there are foods, right? Certain foods for me. Ginger is one of those foods. It's really strange, but the smell even of ginger moves me into creative space. There's something it does. It bypasses the part of my brain that wants to analyze, and it goes, God, it just goes, I enjoy ginger. I enjoy life. There's something about it. Fresh juices do it for me. Any Thai food, basically. I actually made a good a tom kha soup tonight. Pretty proud of myself, and it was pretty good. So certain foods and smells, aromas. I mentioned the incense, oils, things like that, right? Jesse says just being alone, listening to music. Hi Tom, how's it going? Spending time out in the land. Yeah, just being outside. Getting outside. I think for me, I find a direct correlation between the emotional state I am in and how much time I'm spending outside. And on the days that I'm spending, like yesterday, I spent all day inside. And at the end of the day, I didn't feel good. I didn't even sleep good. I know I didn't sleep good. And I correlate some of that just to me not being outside and not moving enough. Oh, Steven, taking it up a notch because you're a classical artist. Bach's Brandenburg, I feel bad that I can't even say that. The concertos, Bach's concertos, that's so great. That's so great. Alex Fountain says, long drives, listen to music, enjoying looking out the window and enjoying nature. I love that too, man. I love traveling, man. I love road trips, seeing new things, right? Especially if you're on a road trip and you're seeing new stimulation, it triggers something in you, right? It reminds you of being a child. I think a lot of times it's like it puts us in the beginner's mind. It gives us a sense of wonder and curiosity, and it makes us wonder, like, holy cow, I haven't seen this. Like, what else is out there? Trail running, yeah. Adam says getting around other creatives, yeah. It's just really great stuff, guys. I appreciate that. For me, being outside, literally just getting outside, going hiking, moving my body. I will, even if I am in like the flow and like things are just moving and I'm writing, or I'm recording, or I'm having a really good like coaching session with somebody and it's just like a good day. I will take a break, and I think 90 minutes is my capacity for what I can do at once. But I'll force myself to take a break and go for a walk outside, and just go circle the block. When I used to work in like an office, more of a like in an office type space environment with other people, I would do the same thing. Those are great things. I appreciate that. Sonal, how's it going? Patrick, what's up, guys? Thanks for joining us. We're talking some creative rhythms. I'm sharing a few of mine, and talking about how we can utilize those to raise our emotional state, get our thinking mind out of the way to put us into that magical space where we're able to tap into something mysterious and wonderful that you have that nobody else has. I'll read a couple more of mine here too. Constraints are kind of huge for me. This is a kind of odd one, but as an artist, it's sometimes daunting to have the blank canvas in front of me. And this idea of this wide open space that anything can be created can be like paralyzing at times. But if I give myself parameters and I say, okay, I have 20 minutes and I have to write one verse of a song, and I'm not going to worry about any music. I have to just write words, and they all of the lines have to start with the letter D. Everyone loves D, right? Everyone loves the letter D to start with. So writing, little constraints like that. One of my favorite records that I've ever made, it was a Christmas record, and I made it in 2 weeks, actually 3 weeks total. I wrote for 1 week and recorded for 2 weeks, and intentionally in that space, partly because we couldn't afford it, we just used very, very minimal instruments, like upright bass, a little bit of classical guitar, a little bit of piano, hardly anything. And the constraints of it forced me to just show up in just different ways than I thought was even possible. Try it for yourself in whatever capacity that you're in. Sarah says yoga helps her. Yeah, moving your body, man. This has been the past couple weeks, actually, Joy and I have been doing a yoga practice every day together, and having that rhythm. And actually, we haven't done it yet today. So after this, we're probably going to do yoga. But that practice of movements in the body, that's huge. Patrick, change of place, change of pace, equal change of perspective. Shout out to Scott in the room, Scott Hodge in the room, for introducing a lot of us to that idea. That's, man, it just jostles the brain up. I'm wired in such a way, not everybody's like this, but for me, if I go to a cafe and I sit in the same place 2 days in a row, it blocks something in me. Like I literally have to go to another spot in there to feel like I can see the world from a different perspective. So that change of place, change of pace, that can be on a micro level too. Move the furniture around in your house, for God's sake. Why? When was the last time you moved the furniture around in your house? I'm seriously, like, when did you move? When did you move your stuff around? Like, change it. Believe me, like these little things are cues to your body to loosen this stuff up, because then again, we're trying to stop this part of the brain, the prefrontal cortex, from taking over. And when you're in a new space, it's like you go back to beginner's mind. You don't have that analytical part. You're just like a new person, and you're learning things and you're seeing new things. So these are just little habits. Another thing on my list here for myself has to do with time and understanding time and rhythms of time. And we talked about morning and evening people, and I think there's a variety of those. There's a book I'll point you to. Daniel Pink wrote it. It's called When by Daniel Pink. And Daniel Pink dives into the science of time and timing in our lives. And it's just really great stuff, because it's like you become aware that like most of us have a trough in the afternoon. So I don't know if you guys feel this, but from about 12:30, 1 o'clock, basically after I eat lunch, until about sometimes like 5 o'clock, like I don't feel right. It's hard for me to think outside the box. It's hard for me to be creative. Daniel Pink even goes so far as to say, don't book a hospital appointment. If you have to have a surgery, book it in the morning. Don't book it in the afternoon, because your surgeon is way more likely to make a mistake. And it's actually proven. He's done some research and found out that way more mistakes happen in doctor's offices and hospitals in the afternoon during the trough period of time. Because there's something chemically that happens to our brain during that time of day where we hit our lull. It's just natural. It's in our rhythm. And so I've learned for myself, rather than trying to fight it, rather than trying to go like, I'm just going to plow through, and like just be in a space, resign to it. Be okay. Know yourself. Design your life to fit you. Don't try to live somebody else's life. Design your life to fit your creative rhythms. So that's just a little bit about time. Couple other things. I'd love, maybe you guys can chime in a couple of things in here on maybe some rhythms that you've found that help you. And then we'll continue to go back and dialogue a little bit about maybe a couple of the problems that you're facing about staying creative. So a couple things, other things for me: intentional boundaries, cell phones, these are no-brainers. Turn your notifications off. Take breaks from that. This thing is changing your life. It's rewired your entire brain for the past 10 years. And so for us to be able to turn it off for a minute, turn the notifications off, is us taking charge and helping rewire some thinking. Stop checking your likes on Instagram. How about that? Stop checking your likes on Instagram. I know this is tempting, and for those of you up top who mentioned comparison, I know this is a big deal. Social media is beautiful. It's great. It's a great way for artists to be able to make their thing and create. But it's also a nightmare from hell, because the second I post something, every 10 minutes or so, something goes off in my brain like, ooh, I wonder if anybody's seen it. I wonder if anybody's liked it. I wonder if anybody's engaged with it. I wonder if the thing that I'm making is having some sort of impact. And the better I can train myself to disengage from the reaction of other people the more I can stay in that emotional state of love and joy and hope and that upward spiral, right? So do yourself a favor and try to get into a rhythm of shutting down the like checking, shutting down the social media, like checking up on it, right? Huge. Others in there. Let's see. Anybody else? I hear some like, yeah, driving. I love that. For me, cooking. Anybody else into cooking? Cooking's a new thing. I mentioned I'm doing this Whole30 thing, and it's kind of a trip. I'm actually spending way more time in the kitchen than ever. But I'm finding that I go into the kitchen in one of two states. One state is to get the food prepped and hurry it up so that I can hurry up and feed everybody, and including myself, who's getting crankier because it didn't eat. Or I can just be present and enjoy it. And when I resign to the moment and the task at hand, that one precious thing that you have in front of you, it's a lot easier just to be in that space and to find yourself in a state of joy. One thing at a time. One thing at a time. That's great. So we've got a couple more minutes left here. I want to ask anybody else in here, what are some things? Tell me, you guys, tell me like just one thing that you're feeling. Give our group a little sample of like one thing that you're feeling blocked in, or some way that you're, man, I wish I was creating more of this. I'll take a break to refill my LaCroix, my cherry lime LaCroix with ice ball. Taking time to sit in silence each day. It's a great rhythm. Just a being. And creating the boundary even to do it, right? Even to be able to say, I deserve this. I know there's 100 other things that I could be doing right now. I deserve this. Sheena, sometimes just lack of inspiration. Yeah, I get that. I don't know if you want, you can elaborate more on it. But I think I wonder what is it that you're looking for in inspiration, and even where is it maybe that like it's the same things that you keep going to, like the habits of going to the same things over and over for inspiration, and you want to break out of that, or for me, I think I can get into a rut with even what I'm consuming. There's like low-hanging easy fruit for me to just the go-tos, as far as even like music that I listen to, films that I watch. But when I'm hanging out with different people, also like when I meet new people and I start to get into their interests, it helps me shift a little bit too, because I can get interested in somebody else's thing. So sometimes I'm asking the question like, well, gee, I wonder, like, what's the most recent artist that you're into? Like, maybe I ask you this, if you guys put it in there, like, what are you into right now? Is there an artist that's like geeking you out, that's inspiring you, that's changing your perspective, that's moving you in some way? Adam says, being blocked in the belief that there's a deep well of creativity, not a shallow one. That's tough, especially if you're creating and you keep making things. And like Adam is making YouTube videos, and he's out there tapping into his own creativity, trusting that the things he's going to be able to bring are new. I've been doing that this past year with my mantra song things. There's sometimes when I go, is the well going to run dry? Is that it? That is a little bit of fear of that. Alex, I appreciate that. I thank you so much, man. Well, listen, so what I want to do is I'm actually going to play music in a minute. I know it's kind of an odd way to end a session on creativity, But I want to create a little bit of space where I just want to play for you guys and lead you guys in something and an exercise. So bear with me. But last thing I said also is do this more. Listen, this kind of thing, sharing with each other, that's what gives life, right? Moving out of our thinking mind, up the emotional ladder, into a space where you can flow and be creative, creating those rhythms for yourself. Take ownership of those and get around people who are also doing it. So get help. There are other ways too. There are a lot of workshops and things like that are like this out there. I'm doing creative coaching right now. If you're interested in doing some kind of coaching, I'm doing some one-on-one stuff. Hit me up. I'd love to chat about it. It's something I just started doing this past year, and it's just like it lights me up. And I'm doing it out of a place of like, I've had coaching and therapy that has helped me take the steps that I've needed to take over the past, especially the past 5 years, to be able to have the kind of output that I've been doing. I wouldn't be the same without the help of other people. So at the end of the day, as much as this is like a workshop about your creativity, it's actually about our connection together. It's about our creativity, because none of this stuff happens in a silo alone on a little island by itself. We are all connected, and all these things matter. All right. As I'm going to wrap this up as a few comments in here come in. Probably Jovan saying probably need to seek out more new material to keep me fresh. Maybe that helped me get out of my head and be more courageous. I love that. Just finding new material, finding new things to keep you fresh. Sheena, being around other creatives is inspiring. I'm going to lead, this is like just basic, it's one of the choruses of one of my songs. We do this at our guided concerts. And it's a line from a song that says, breathe deep, unsee the lines of the crosshair. Breathe deep, unsee the lines of the crosshair. Because I think that sometimes what our brains do, for really good reasons, because they're trying to keep us safe, is they make enemies of everything. Our brains, our overthinking, our monkey minds, our lizard brain want to react and keep us safe. And so it makes enemies out of anything that's like outside of our comfort zone or feels foreign or unsafe. And it put crosshairs on those things. And so I want to just take a couple big deep breaths and unsee the lines of the crosshair. I know this is an odd thing to do on a Facebook thing, so just go with me on it. Be brave. Close your eyes if you're up for it. And take a couple big deep breaths together. Ready? We're going to inhale. Exhale. Breathe deep, unsee the lines of the crosshair. Breathe deep, unsee the lines of the crosshair. Oh, breathe deep, unsee the lines of the crosshair. Oh, breathe deep, unsee the lines of the crosshair. And in this space of just breathing and being present, welcome the inner spirit that is you, the true you, the childlike, curious, wondrous you that doesn't know what tomorrow brings, has more questions than answers, and finds themselves mysteriously drawn to things that don't make sense, things that are irrational, things that are beyond our understanding, the things that we can't put names and labels on it. You have something to offer the world that is needed right here and right now, and it comes from that spot, the inner voice, the whisper voice. Breathe deep, unsee the lines of the crosshair. Oh, breathe deep, unsee the lines of the crosshair. Thanks, guys, for being here with us tonight. Appreciate every one of you guys who has been in here. This is going to be, I think, on for a replay. If you want to go back and rewatch parts of it or share it with anyone else. Please hit me up, send me a message or a text or an email, and let me know. I would really love your feedback on how this kind of interaction is for you and what you think about it, and any ideas. I'm really in this place of exploration and openness right now, so we'd love that. So I'll play another minute, and then I'm going to turn off my light, and I'm going to go downstairs and I'm going to do some yoga with my wife. Breathe deep and see. Breathe deep and be. Breathe deep and see. Oh, the inner voice that's speaking out, leaving room for you to be, so you can just be. Oh, so you can just be. Thank you all. Have a great evening, and let's be in touch. Keep making beautiful things, because we all need what you have. Peace, love, good night.